Style is what happens when you're not particularly thinking about style and you're trying to convey just exactly what it is, that's in your head. Hey guys, my name is Anthony Azekwoh and I'm an artist and author from Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up very quiet and awkward, to be honest, and I think for me I escaped into a lot of books, and art didn't come until much later. But I feel like for me I was just obsessed with books and stories, and as I got older, I guess in my head it was I think I can do this. Being able to, I guess, partake in this culture that I had grown up with was important to me. When I was 13, I started just writing. When I was 16, I started painting. And of course, sharing my work on the internet. All these things kind of snowballed into this crazy, I guess, career. Yeah, I think it was COVID. COVID was the best year for me. Um, I posted this painting called The Red Man, and it went crazy viral, and it just changed my life. And I think for me, that moment where it's millions of people are seeing your work, you're selling prints. I just turned 20 that year, so I was making money. I was like, damn, you know what, this is going. Maybe I can actually do this as a thing. So yeah, I think that was the big moment for me. I would say the ideation process lasts the longest. So even now, as I'm sitting here, it's in my head I already have particular ideas that I'm playing this way and that, turning this way and this way. I'm figuring out okay, how is this? What is the best way to bring this out? Through what angle? Through what process? And from then on, it starts for me actually putting things to paper, which by the time I've sat down to start, that takes the shortest amount of time, depending on what I'm doing. Because by the time I've sat down, I already have the image and everything already down. So in my head, that ideation process can last from a day, 2 weeks, sometimes it takes years. The wedding, for instance, is something that I've been playing around with since 2022. So things like that, I'll say my process is very disjointed, but it just works with the way I work. I feel style is probably something I struggle with internally, but then funny enough, when people say that it's identifiable, I'm maybe I'm not struggling too much or as much as I think. I think for me, style is what happens when you're not particularly thinking about style and you're trying to convey just exactly what it is, that's in your head. The best work I create is when I'm not thinking too much about the specifics or even how people are going to receive it. And I think that to me is possibly what reads to you as style. So I think for me, the best thing has always been to let go of even the people that inspire me and just push. Yeah, I feel with the works popping off, man, it's always crazy. It's on our side, we can tell a work is special, but until we post it and it gets the reaction, we're oh damn, okay, this is the one, this is the hit. And I think The Red Man was the hardest one because that was the first ever one. And it's in terms of people from Nigeria having that kind of attention from their artwork, for the artwork. Do you get what I'm saying? It's it's a whole different terrain. And I think The Red Man, it took me a while to really adjust and figure out okay, what it is I'm trying to say. After The Red Man, I understood. It's I was able to learn the fundamentals of handling that kind of attention and using it to grow as opposed to being trapped by it. I think me and Young John have the best chemistry, I would say, when it comes to it's always one shot. Both of us, we know exactly where it is we're going. And by the time we pinpoint it, it's just to get to perfection. So I feel both of us have had a great relationship when it comes to the two album covers. And I think, yeah, whenever we lock in, it's always solid. Around the middle of last year, I was getting lots of mixed reviews about my work. It's a lot of people were saying that my work was very dark, it was very garish and red. And I really wanted to move away from that. So I had made a painting that was again, a left turn, there was more white and oranges, stuff that I didn't usually paint. And I just left, I called her Gloria in my head. Then I think 2 months passed, and it was like around September, and I was like, let's just give them something. It's been a while. And when I posted it, right when I was about to post, I was like, like, this is like a bridesmaid, this is interesting. And I figured a story for myself. When I posted it, and then it just went viral, it was like, okay, this is crazy. But I think for me at this point, it's like, before I do a series, it has to be a series that makes sense. I didn't want to do a series just for like series sake. So it took me like 3-4 weeks to actually like sit down and think about what it is I wanted to say and what it is I wanted to speak on, especially with regards to love and unions and like the bonds that we form together as like groups. And by the time I had that, then like that's when the whole plan started to come. So I'll say that it happened like a mix of half and half, like half spontaneity. But I think for us, we've been in the trenches, those trenches of like virality that we know how to navigate the waters now. Well, with sculpting started because I got bored of painting, and I've actually always wanted to sculpt. I've always been inspired by, this is Italian sculptor. His name is Bernini, and I just love the intricacies of his work. And so if you even see like paintings like the Red Man, there's a way that I'm painting these planes and it looks almost sculpted. So sculpture is it's a medium I've always wanted to go into. By the time I couldn't even start dreaming of being able to afford the tools. But as I got older, like things with Van Gogh, stuff started to get like, more advanced. I was like, I'm actually finally at the place to learn this new skill. So it was a very steep learning curve, and I was just blessed to be able to, the first ever sculpture collection, J5 saw the progress picture, and he was like, dog, I need these. And that's how like the whole thing just started like popping up for us. So with the aunties, last year, I've been thinking about how we could have sculptures that people could actually like hold and have in their homes. Because again, like those big marble pieces were great, they were successful. But for me, it's like, I want people to be able to hold and like be able to actually like at least be involved in the ownership of my work. So last year we started like thinking about the concept of aunties, where it's like, in every home, like there was always just these people who are your aunties. Like you don't know where they came from, you don't know how you're your aunties, but they're always just there. And again, playing on that concept, I wanted to be able to have like these three figures and sculpt them and be able to still sculpt them with the same grace and elegance you would have from like those Roman sculptures, and being able to add like our own like African flair to them. So the goal was, and this was the puzzle, being able to create these things on Nigerian soil. That was our handicap. Our goal was, look, we're going to start from beginning to end and make this in Nigeria. We're going to use Nigerian materials, Nigerian artisans, and we're going to build up on this somehow. That took us a whole year of just like trial and error, simply because it's like, we had to invest in our own 3D printer, we had to make our own connections, we had to send a representative to Benin, to Osobo. We had to like really go in deep and figure out how do we do this in the most efficient way. And that's why being able to look at them now, I'm really excited, because it's like, this is a whole year in the making, being able to take them around, let people see them and really be involved. And that's why like even people like buying them now is really exciting. So I think that to me is just the concept of the aunties and my own mindset behind it, being able to have work that people could finally own. I think it changes, man. It changes. Like it used to be, this was marble, but for a while now it's been the bronze. And I think the bronze, this gave us the most trouble. This is like our 5th attempt, just getting it right, like getting the features, getting that shine. As I think right now, it just represents all like the headache, like this whole series has, given us. Of course. Yeah, I feel like even with the wedding, I was going through a crazy heartbreak at the time. So there's always something personal. And the interesting thing is that when I'm moving from that personal place, people can feel it, because at the end of the day, like we're all human beings and we're all going through like basically the same things. So I think that for me is always an important thing, which is why even with the wedding, I had to like wait and process things before I like put them out. Actually, I was just telling Kiton about this, where it's like, at the end of the day, with this journey and being an artist, like last, everybody has their own like thing to bed. You guess, like, what time is it? Like it's 7, somebody's heading back home, maybe from a long day at KPMG. Like at the end of the day, this is my own work. And for me, it's like on those difficult days, that's the energy that counts. It's easy to, work when the money day and this and that, but like when things are stressful, that to me is when like your skills and like your strength as a human being is really being tested and applied. And that to me is what I'm keeping in my head right now, where it's like, this is my own calling. And so when it gets difficult, it's like, okay, this is the time where I can actually prove that I'm about this. I think success to me is being able to like, and it sounds great, just being able to go to bed and wake up and you're at peace. Nobody's chasing you, you're not chasing anybody, you're just waking up and you're okay. Your family's healthy, you're healthy, things are okay. Like I think those things are more of what I'm treasuring now, because it's like at the end of the day, like money issues or business issues, those things can be rectified. But like the basic things of, are you okay? Is your family okay? Are people alive? Like things like that, are things that you actually can't do anything to rectify. So it's like, that's where my own head is at right now when it comes to success and peace.